I think what McLaren is struggling with right now, and even I think what Lando is struggling with right now is, and I think I talked about it earlier, championships are won on small moments. Every
Hmm.
time you're losing a race start, he's done it far too many times now.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
again,
yeah.
we can continue talking about mitigating factors, this, that, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point you have to I if there's a Max Verstappen leading the race, I do not expect him to lose the lead. I just do not.
No, 100% not. No. No, no.
And even from that point,
Even Piastri. If Piastri starts on pole, I know he's going to stay
yeah.
there.
I mean, let's expand a bit on the Lando McLaren situation here, because I think it needs explaining, and it's probably something where I think it's a bit unfair the way the whole thing has been going on. But I also think that it's probably because your algorithm and mine is probably filled with a lot of Max Verstappen fans.
Yeah.
It could be playing a role. So I think first things first. I don't think Lando Norris or McLaren were ready for the title battle.
No.
And I think there is, at least in terms of mindset, there needs to be a major change. Whether that comes or not, I don't know. But I think
Hmm.
there's, in terms of ruthlessness, they're lacking. And that's
Yeah.
just,
Look, the simple way to put this for anyone talking about, like, this is again another reason why, like, we've just talked about Verstappen, how high level he is, right? And this is another reason why I just consistently give Norris slack when I think a lot of people don't. Maybe again, it is just our algorithms. But if you took, like, forget about, I'm not taking Norris's mistakes out. If I just take the team mistakes out, nothing more. So every mistake that Norris did to cost him points, I leave in. They would now be on, even after Brazil, it would be a 19-point deficit to Max. So, I mean, that's how close it would be if McLaren got everything right, like Red Bull have been doing. That is how close it would be. They would have been going into this race weekend 1 point. It would have been 1 point off of Max, right? If
yeah.
you take out all of McLaren's failures and giving points away and all these different things.
Yeah.
So McLaren, I think, take most of the blame. The problem is, as like, Norris does need some of the blame, but I've been saying this for a while. I think this was a season where they just needed to learn how to win, and we do need to give them a little bit of credit as well in the fact that, which again I know Max fans will be annoyed at, they didn't have a car to fight for a championship with until kind of Miami, and by that stage Verstappen had already won 7 races, so he had a massive lead going into that. And then they failed to take it.
He won 5 races, I think, by then.
Was it 5 races? I thought he won 7 this. I thought this was his 8th win this season. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
but after Miami, he also won Imola
Oh, he won Imola. Yeah,
and
sorry, 5 races
Barcelona.
by that point. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So 5, but the point is, they weren't expecting to be in a title fight this year, and I think a lot of the criticism I have for McLaren comes from the fact that they should have immediately, because right, to turn the tables here. If Red Bull started this season and McLaren were started as kind of the Red Bull and Norris had won 5 races, right? You know that as soon as Miami hit and they had a car where they even though they won that with some luck from the safety car, they would have said, right, we've got a car that can fight here. And they would have said, let's go for this title. And we're going to put everything behind this now. McLaren, even by even by Monza, we're still going, oh, we're not really sure if this is a title fight yet. So, Red Bull wouldn't have done that. Red Bull would have said, no, this is a title fight from the moment we have a car. Who's the driver ahead? Okay, it's Norris. Piastri, we're going to give Norris favoritism, but if you can genuinely catch him, we'll swing the tables. But for right now, we want to win both championships. And by not having that mindset, they just gave away so many points because they were focused on other drivers, silly mistakes. So does Norris have a part to blame in losing this? Obviously, he made some mistakes. He gave away a good few points as well. He probably gave away, I would say, if you wanted to be really critical of him, probably 20 points at certain instances, I think, over the course of the season. I think is a fair one.
Go back and check.
I'd need to
I
go
think
through
there is
bit
more.
by bit.
I think there's more.
Yeah, like Austria technically wasn't his fault.
I don't think Austria is his fault at all.
No, Austria technically
think
wasn't
so.
his fault, but I think, could he have played it differently if he really wanted to? Sure. you know, and those are situations where even though it wasn't his fault, would a Lewis Hamilton or Leclerc put themselves in that situation? Probably not.
I think we also saw this thing we saw it in Brazil, right?
Yeah.
When Leclerc and Max were battling. You just knew Leclerc knew how to race Max. It was so obvious.
Yes.
And that's what I've been saying for far too long. Even against Ocon, in the first 2 laps, Ocon knew where to place the car against Max.
Yeah.
And they've been doing this since they were kids. Lando has not been there, so still some catching up to do.
So look, I think I've said it though, this triple header for me, I've seen a different Lando. Like, you know, they're just a completely different Lando. And I think unfortunately, like 2009 and, you know, for Red Bull and Vettel, you need to go through this period, this phase of everything's not perfect. Like Vettel needed to be battle hardened a little bit. Red Bull needed to be battle hardened. In fairness, Vettel also was it continued on in 2010 as well. You know, like he didn't lead that championship at any point until the last race, as far as I remember. So McLaren should probably be given some slack too, because they haven't been in this position ever. Realistically,
I don't think I can, because I think Andrea Stella deserves a lot of blame right now, because it's been poor from his side. And I think for a long time we've said that Zach Brown is the one who's being the person who's handling everything, but I just think it's Stella as well, because hearing him after the sprint, I don't think that's the right approach. I just don't think 2010 German Grand Prix, Alonso pretty much, and Alonso's race engineer was Andrea Stella at the time, and he said, I want the position, and he was ruthless about it. And Stella witnessed the whole thing, and we saw ultimately Alonso going to the last race of the season in the lead. And Stella has been there even during the Schumacher days. He knows how to look. If you've been through that culture, you should be aware. I think these are things that are basically imbibed in you. What have you learned?
Do you not think though that a lot of this is down to pressure from the top? Because I feel like if he, like earlier in the season, he would have made team orders very quickly without thinking about it. But I think there's an internal culture there that's been set by Zach, and I think that's where a lot of the criticism of Zach comes from. You know, where it's more about the finances and sponsorship than it is about the actual, you know, winning on track.
I doubt that is the case, honestly. I don't think it should be, and I don't think there's any reason to, because look, McLaren is not short of money. They're Bahraini
not
owners,
anymore.
So there's no such thing as shortage of money for them. The only thing that what are you fighting for? I mean, no one at 2008 Ferrari won the Constructors' Championship.
No one
gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck. And
No.
that's just the whole thing. And this season again, more than likely that McLaren will win the Constructors if they don't screw up even further. The thing is, no one will remember that. Drivers' Championship is the one. 2021, Mercedes won the Constructors' Championship. They did
Nobody
a
talks
record
about
8 times. No one gives a fat fuck. So that's the whole thing. And somehow I think it's just the misplaced priorities. And look, at some point in time, I think, again, Zach deserves credit. He deserves blame as well. Because look, Zach joined the team in 2017, 2018, roughly like that. So it's been 7 years, and he's turned the team from being a complete joke. With Alonso basically throwing his toys out of the pram. In 7 years, this team is winning the championship. So there's a lot of good that he's done. But I think for Stella, just to be hamstrung being a team principal, I'm finding it hard to buy it, because right, at some point you have to question what if you are hamstrung as a team principal, then what's the point?
In fairness, he has done a very good job as well compared to Seidel before him, obviously. Like, you know,
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I don't know. I don't know how Seidel would have actually managed this thing, because we never got to see that side of him. What we saw was the 2021 Italian GP, where he was very firm on the radio and told Lando to back off.
Yeah.
when Daniel was winning the race. So he's done that kind of thing. I don't know. I think we lost a lot. We lost a great talent in Andreas Seidel because of the way how he managed the whole thing. And
Yeah,
here we
maybe.
are right now. I don't know. It's just
Maybe Seidel would have been. Maybe Seidel just proved the wrong person to get them there, but maybe would have been the right person in the situation. You know,
could be.
because if
Yeah.
we look at Sauber as well, obviously that it didn't go great. So,
Yeah.
maybe he's just not the right person to build up. It's like we've had this conversation before as well, haven't we? Where we said that if Ferrari had the optimal situation, it would be Binotto on one side and Fred on the other. And you would have had this perfect team. Maybe that's what they needed. But I think
Yeah.
next year is going to be the interesting one because, here's the thing. I expect Oscar to be a lot closer, but I'm still not sure. Like maybe Lando's unlocked another level now, or maybe Oscar has just kind of not been 100% on it because he's kind of not, he knows the title fight's not on him or whatever, but Oscar's performances in the last few races haven't been like everyone. I think I warned about this earlier on. Everyone was seeing Piastri's kind of curve go like this. And
Yeah.
I kept saying, this will flatten, like it always flattens. It can't go
Yeah.
like that forever. So the real question is, does it flatten before or after he gets to Lando's level? And I think for the moment, it's still before. There are certain things in his racecraft that are better than Norris's, and I think Norris could learn a
Obviously, yeah.
thing or two. But I think if you're talking about an overall driver, he's still not quite there. But it's going to be interesting next year because if Piastri is there off the boat, and McLaren do have the fastest car, they're going to need to make the call a lot quicker than they did this year, because we've seen what happens if you have two top drivers fighting for a championship, unless you've got an absolute out-and-out dominant, like one of your drivers will win regardless of what happens.
But is it a cultural paralysis?
I
Do you
think,
think-
that's where I think Zach deserves some blame for that, because I think Zach's mode of turning the team around has also been a lot on kind of making this marketing machine, right? And if you're this marketing
that's-
machine, you don't want one driver to get preference all the time. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't look good.
But you look at the way the McLaren IndyCar team is managed. It's entirely Pato Award.
Mm-hmm.
It might change a bit next season because Christian Lundgaard is a talent that is joining McLaren as well. But you don't see the McLaren F1 replica in IndyCar, in a sense that the team is competitive. It's very good. It almost won the Indy 500, I think second or third time. It was on the last corner he lost to Newgarden. The problem for me is I think what McLaren is struggling with right now, and even I think what Lando is struggling with right now is, and I think I talked about it earlier, championships are won on small moments. Every time you're losing a race start, he's done it far too many times now.
Yeah,
And again,
yeah.
we can continue talking about mitigating factors, this, that, whatever.
Yeah.
At some point you have to if there's a Max Verstappen leading the race, I do not expect him to lose the lead. I just do not.
No, 100% not. No.
And even from that point,
Even Piastri. If Piastri starts on pole, I know he's going to
Yeah.
stay there.
yeah,
You know?
he did that, and then the restarts he lost position to, I think, Leclerc, then Russell. So that's maybe again a loss of head or whatever. At some point you have to sit down and think that maybe it's not the complete package. If he has the right car, which is, if McLaren has a car similar to what they had this season, and Red Bull is in the position that it is right now, I think McLaren wins the championship next season. But I think it would be foolish to assume that this would be the case, because we don't know what Ferrari is going to produce. We have no idea what a
Yeah.
Mercedes will do. I mean, again, we can say that maybe it won't be great, but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, I think they're going to need a bit of a lead as well, because look, realistically, there's only if they had equal cars next year, right? Say Max Verstappen and whoever else had equal cars, There's actually only one driver I think would actually bring it down to the last race, and at the moment that's Leclerc. Like to be honest,
but not with Ferrari.
No,
That's
no.
the
What I'm saying
problem.
though is, if you had equal cars, like let's just
Equal everything. I
equal
won't say
every
car,
yeah,
the team as well. Because
team and
team
everything,
makes
equal
big difference.
everything, equal everything, everything going right, making all the right strategy calls. If we're just going down to driver performance and nothing else, the only person I think could beat Verstappen is Leclerc.
Yeah.
I think Leclerc is the only one right now who is the absolute out and out complete package, and I think. Like, I know Hamilton should be there, but I feel like something's dropped off with Hamilton. Maybe the new team will refresh him, but we see this with drivers; it drops off over time. Alonso's a weird one that kind of continuously.
Alonso has not dropped off. It's
No,
it's
he's
it's
but he's
Aston
a
Martin.
yeah, but Alonso's a very strange case. I can't think of any other driver who consistently has that like there all the time. But I think we'll have to see. Like people keep saying, "Oh, if Hamilton has the right car," but I'm like, yeah, but like that's why Verstappen for me is a better driver, because Verstappen will just maximize the results all the time, regardless of
Hasn't
what
had the
car
right
he
car
has.
for a long time this season.
But
And
even before 2021, he didn't have the right car, and he still would try and maximize every weekend. You know, like he was young, he would make mistakes, frustrated, all these things. Leclerc now is also that type that generally maximizes everything.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I feel like Leclerc is now, and I don't even think he was in 2022 or 2023. I think this year it's kind of the final molding has happened for Leclerc. He feels like the complete driver now. And I don't know if Ferrari got on the radio when Max was coming behind him. But he
knew.
visibility was shit, but he knew where Max was going to go, and he kept covering the inside. I think he very much knows how to play that game. He was covering the inside knowing, right, I can just do Max's game of pushing him off, you know, like
I just love it when Max comes on the radio and says that he squeezed me off the track.
Yeah.
I'm buddy.
It's like, well, I mean, you wrote this book, you know, someone else read it. It's, you know, look, I think Norris still has a way to go.
I'd love to see a championship battle with. I'll be honest. This season, what I've realized is Ferrari is still not there. That's the verdict that I get every time.
A question, or not so much a question, but see if you agree on this with me, because I get a little bit frustrated when someone says they're not championship worthy, because for me there are levels on that. You know, like if you're in the same if you're in the same car though.
Yeah.
My point is, if you're in the same car, right? If you put Verstappen and Hamilton in the exact same car in 2021, I think Verstappen wins that, right? Okay, we could talk about that all day. Does that mean that I don't think Hamilton is championship worthy? Obviously not. You know, obviously he can win. So like, I think that there's two different conversations here. I think people think if you say championship worthy, it means you're saying best. And it's like, no, those are two different things.
Yeah.
If Norris has the right team and right car, can he win a championship? I think he's shown us this year he absolutely can, right?
Precisely.
If Norris is in a team and a pairing up against a perfect Red Bull and Verstappen, can he win the championship? It's unlikely. It's very, very difficult. But then I would say the same about Russell, Hamilton. Leclerc, I think, would be the closest. You know, Piastri, I don't think is there yet. Like most drivers, if it's just on driver performance, I think Verstappen beats pretty much all of them. Leclerc would be closest. Does that mean that all those drivers aren't championship worthy? Obviously not. Like, you know, I've seen that term thrown around so much, and it's like no one really.
The term that you are actually looking for is not championship worthy. It's champion material.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think Norris is championship material. I think he's shown that in a few races. It's just Verstappen is more consistently championship material, and Red Bull is more consistently championship material than both McLaren and Norris.
Thing. Yeah, we should not forget the fact that the role that Red Bull plays, and I think this is something that is always, again, fans will do it. But if you are having a good faith discussion, Vettel outperformed Alonso and Lewis overall. If you look at it from 2010 to 2013. Why? Because everything was working perfectly. Lewis did the same from 2014 till 20 whatever. Why? Because everything was working perfectly for him. If a
Yeah.
driver is hamstrung in some way or the other, you are not having a fair battle anyway.
You need to gel
And
that confidence as well.
yeah, and
Those
again, I
drivers
mean, that's why
absolutely
I
believe in their teams.
exactly, and that's why I never get into the whole debate of, oh, Alonso in a Ferrari in 2018 would have won. We don't know because we do not know how Alonso would have reacted to a situation where the car's upgrades don't work. They make the car. I mean, we are looking at it right now, anyways, at Aston Martin, but he's not reacting it that well, right? Anyways, coming back to the championship worthy thing and championship material, I actually replied this to one of the Verstappen fans. So, when you talk about championship worthy, it is there are a few categories you have to tick. You have to be in the fastest car. You need the team that is best in terms of operations. You need to beat your teammate, and you need to finish the season with the most points. Now, this season, I think Lando ticked two of the four boxes. The operational bit is not there, and I don't think he'll finish with the most points. But the
No.
thing is, look, if you're beating a teammate like Oscar Piastri and doing it handily, I don't know how much Oscar improves next season, but in terms of performance, it's there. It's the intangible things that Lando needs to work on. So if he can or cannot, or if somehow McLaren produces a car that is just a rocket ship next season, that will completely turn the script on, flip the script entirely.
Yeah,
Whether that
yeah.
happens or not, we don't know.
If-
But if
if-
that
if-
happens, it's over. I mean, it's
If they have the absolute fastest car next year, right, and it's by a margin where they're able to kind of maybe not 2023, but let's say 2022 even, where they're winning the majority of races over the course of the season, right?
yeah,
Then I think in that case Norris wins a title because
Yeah.
unless Oscar can really step up, then on more occasions Norris will just be the faster driver, and it won't matter if he, Piastri will get maybe a better start and get ahead of him, but Norris over the course of the race will be the faster driver and take him over, or overtake him. And there'll
Yeah.
be certain days where it'll go Piastri's way, and there'll be days where it's not. Piastri, I've noticed that a lot of the people who were talking only a few races ago about how Piastri is clearly the faster driver have gone really quiet about that since.
and it's been what four? Okay, Piastri helped him out in the sprint this this weekend.
Yeah.
But that's it, right? I think it's other than that, he's not really been close.
And it's where McLaren, if they get the car next year, need to make the decision quickly because
Yeah.
they, as Norris said, he said it over the radio, and I don't know how much they didn't want to go into detail, obviously, but he said we talked about this before the race, and Piastri started and immediately blocked him off from going down the inside.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, right, well, guys, it doesn't matter how much you talk about this next year. You're going to be in a real problematic situation because clearly the team game is not going to be played here. And,
Yeah.
Norris in Hungary took a long time to give it back. And I understand why, I do understand why.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they're in a title fight next year, Norris after Hungary and seeing all the problems they had after that is not going to give it back again. That's not
Yeah.
going to happen again. Because what they did was they said, you're going to need Piastri if there's a title fight. A title fight came up, and then look how difficult it was to pass, even in the sprint. Look at the way they played that. Norris is not going to have faith in the team to play for him next year. So they're going to have a real problem on their hands if they don't make a decision quickly. And even if they do, they're going to have a real problem on their hands because Oscar's probably not going to accept it very quickly either, which is fair. He's a very good driver. But I think that could be their hindrance next year.
I think for me, again, it's just until they do it on the track and prove it, it's very hard for me to make any assertive conclusion in any direction. I don't know Oscar is going to be better next season. I want to see it first. I don't know Lando would make the improvements needed to actually ultimately be a better title contender next season. I need to see it first.
Yeah.
It's very easy, sit down and basically write stuff like he's the worst championship contender since Felipe Massa in 2008. I could not laugh more at that kind of comments because first of all, Felipe Massa well, rightful winner in 2008. So if he's the worst contender, what does it make Lewis? Secondly, I mean, he 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 was never supposed to fight for the title this season until he went to Miami or maybe even Imola. I don't think he even thought he was going to be fighting for the title this season. I
No,
think even in the summer break, he did not think he would be fighting for the title. It's
it was always a
he
long shot anyway.
yeah,
Even coming into this weekend, it was a tall order. Like
yeah,
we said in the last podcast, it could happen if everything, like if things go really wrong for Red Bull.
yeah.
But things needed to go really wrong for Red Bull, and they didn't. And Max performed, and yeah, I don't know. I think what Norris needs to do now, realistically, now that the title fight is actually over, is he needs to go and maximize the next 3 races and just forget
Win
about
them,
this year. Win
win them.
them if possible. Like obviously, depending if the car can do it in Vegas, but in the other
It
two,
doesn't matter. I mean,
absolutely,
it would be there and thereabouts. This is what Rosberg did in 2015.
yeah.
He went on a run of 3 consecutive wins, and what he did was he basically built a momentum that he took with him into the next season.
That's what he needs
That
to
made a
do.
lot of difference.
Norris needs to go and absolutely just go on a charge for the next 3 races.
Yeah,
Get pole position, start off the line. If it's him and Piastri alongside, he needs to treat Piastri as if it's Verstappen and just run over him out and get
yeah,
along and just just go, I am going to win at all costs from now on, and prove to himself he can do it, because he's an incredibly quick driver. Like you said, it's the intangible things, and I think he needs to do that for himself now.
yeah,
Because if he doesn't, it doesn't matter if we question it. If he's questioning himself going into 2025, that could be game over.
yeah.
Like that. These. How many drivers have not won a title and then the car goes away for a few years and that's it, game
Yeah.
over. Like look at Daniel Ricciardo. Look how
Yeah.
quickly people went from he is a future world champion to that guy doesn't deserve
Why
to be in a
is he
Toro
in
Rosso.
Formula One? Yeah.
Yeah, look how
I mean,
quickly that
2020
happened.
and 2021, that's just, and yeah, I think it will be a test of his mental strength as well, because 2024, if he treats it well, it could be the year that helps him become something big. And it could be a year that basically sees his teammate take over. Either things could happen. I mean, I
Oscar's a
picked
very
Oscar
good
to
driver.
actually outscore Lando this season. That was my prediction at the start of the year. So again, that didn't really work out.
Yeah,
But yeah, but the thing is, this is the point. It's on him. And I mean, I've said it far too many times. He should talk to Nico Rosberg a lot. That is the person he needs to talk to, because in terms of mental strength, the kind of mental strength he needed to accumulate to beat Lewis, that still counts. And
yeah.
yeah, a lot will come down to that.
I
I think
just to
yeah, go for
clarify
it.
as well, I think both of us agree, because there'll probably be some people in the comments who think, "Oh, these guys think Oscar Piastri is not a great driver." The point is not that Oscar Piastri is an incredible driver, and that's why I give Norris a lot of credit, because beating Piastri is not an easy task.
If anyone thinks that we think Oscar is a bad driver or not a great driver, we rated the drivers just a few weeks back. We'll link the video as well in the description. You can see where we added Oscar, and that should tell you everything.
Yeah.